My name is Saundra Henderson Windom, formerly Chang Bang Sun. I'm, half Korean and half black, so there were African American soldiers there. So any kind of war situation, there are always casualties of war. And the casualties of war, not only the dead, but also the children who are left behind. So we were the casualties of the war as far as black children who were unwanted. They were in, a country, the president during that time, Syngman Rhee, believed in a pure race as far as the Koreans were concerned. The country was just so dirt poor and so devastated by the war that prostitution was sanctioned, and it became a main moneymaker to boost the economy of Korea during that time. But when the consequence of the prostitution were babies, that's when they wanted them to get rid of us. So for many of us, we were killed. We were, drowned in the sea, left abandoned. When I think about those times, how I look compared to how he looked. Here I am, dark-skinned, curly-haired little girl in Korea, in a country where tainted blood was not wanted in Korea. I'm assuming I might have been maybe about 4 years old, maybe during the time that I'm really remembering always being with him. And I'm assuming that he was full Korean, but he definitely looked different from me, and that's where I really appreciated him, because like I said, I'm dark-skinned, different color hair, or different kind of hair than he is. And he didn't seem to care, He's a boy and I'm a girl. Boys are always, looked upon with more status and respect. So regardless of my color, my hair, he didn't care, or my gender, me being a girl. So I just remember him looking at me, making me laugh, helping me to survive by living off the sea snails and just living off the ocean. He was the one who taught me how to survive. And him letting me crawl on his back and just be on his back when he had to maneuver, through the village. So when I talk about the love lifting me, he was a part of that love and that human engagement that got me through. Wow, the Holtz. The Holtz gave me the impetus of taking control of my life as far as just stop being depressed. Because after losing Sunyan, that's when I truly felt like an orphan. And I just felt like giving up. He's gone, he was my whole world. So when I see the Holtz and just see them coming and taking other children away, I could see, just looking at them, that they had compassion, something about them that I just felt that I would be better with them rather than just seeing other children dying before my eyes, that I'm choosing right then and there, life or death. So I attribute them with my initiative of wanting to live, of hoping for something, of having a desire. Even though I didn't know what any of those words meant, I felt it inside of me. And I also feel like through them was the beginning of my spirituality, of faith, of having faith in something unseen. That one day, hey, they're gonna choose me and I'm going to a better place. When I was with Sunyan, I was happy. Then all of a sudden, I'm separated from him. When I was with the Holtz, I was happy. And now at least they were foretelling me that I was going to be separated from them. So I'm going through this anxiety. So I didn't want to leave them. As a kid, I wanted consistency in my life. So when they're telling me, I'm getting ready to go to another family, or go somewhere. One of the things that Molly did start telling me was that once I'm with them, it'll be a forever family, that they won't send me away or I won't have to leave them. It won't be where all of a sudden I'm without them. So I was not happy at first, but Molly had to help with that anxiety that I had. I say that to say that we crave affection. We need closeness. So as a small child, I wanted that affection from my adopted mother, and that just wasn't a part of who she was. Now, I still definitely had the love as far as my needs being met. I was fed, had shelter, was given the opportunity to have an education, so I had what I needed. But I still, as a small child, wanted to have that affection. I was able to get it right before she died, so I definitely want to say that I felt that connection. And I said, well, okay, I'll try it. I did it. I, looked at what Ancestry offered, and of course, I always felt, and first of all, I never really tried to find my mother. I just never fathomed that was even possible. Plus, I heard of people who went back and it was a terrible experience for them. So I kind of gave up. So a whole year went past and somebody contacted me. And long story short, we both assumed that it was on the African American side. Well, it turns out it was on the Korean side. And another DNA test later, it was confirmed that it was my mother, that we were siblings on my mother's side. So that just blew my mind. That's an orchestration. Initially, I titled it, "If You Told Me, I Wouldn't Believe It." And where that came from is all these things happening in my life, especially the supernatural ones. So I'm at church and I sit in the balcony, and it's amazing that so many inspirations come to me while I'm sitting in the balcony. And I just heard orchestration. So I played around with it a little bit on the computer as far as actually drawing it. And so I envisioned like the back of God pointing to the stars, of His creations. When you're talking about God created this and that, it's like God creating the orchestrations in my life for this to happen, in order for that to happen, in order for this to happen, and ultimately His will happening. And so that was the painting that I did. So that's where orchestration came from, in the balcony of my church. You hold on to what you don't want to let go of. So in 1989, I went back to Korea, and so to, experience going back to the orphanage, being with Molly Holt, it was, again, something that I just never thought I'd be able to do. So to have that experience was just so emotional. People ask me, why, mourn Korea? Why do you want to rethink something, that was traumatizing or sad? Why, mourn Korea when there was hunger, malnutrition, disease, abandonment? But what trumps all of those is the love of just a few people that were there. The boy that I call Sonyan because I don't remember his name, and the Holtz. And it was their care, their human engagement with me that helped me to survive. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster, and it definitely does connect dots. And not only that, it also lets you get insight into my soul. There's so many things that I recognize about myself and learned about myself in the writing. I don't have to know that very beginning because, hey, obviously, like Celie in The Color Purple said, I'm here.